Alright, so we're going to be making some pretty basic ruins terrain. It's pretty simple. The first thing you're going to need is a measuring tool. I prefer a carpenter's square as it allows me to get really nice right angles on things, and some foam board. Optionally a pen. I like to mark out my cuts ahead of time, but you don't have to. What you're going to want to do is decide how big you want your base to be, and just mark that out. Remember to use the outside measurements if you're using a carpenter's square, not the inside measurements. Go ahead and if you're like me and you want to visualize your cuts beforehand, go ahead and mark them out with a pen. And in addition, we're going to mark out this entire row in the sheet. We're going to get a bigger panel than we actually need because we're going to turn the excess material off to the left there into the walls. So go ahead and get a good blade and just cut those off. My cuts are messy because my blade is dull, but that's no problem. We'll just make the dull, messed up sides the ruins later on. We'll make them crumbled. So that's fine. Go ahead and cut your base, and like I said, that leftover material is going to become the walls. You can cut it that way, or you can measure it on your own. It's whatever. I'm going to take my base and measure out another piece that's the same size for the main wall there, and then same thing with the other piece, which will become the side wall. So, hey, it works out. Go ahead and measure on the taller piece just to find out, where it's going to meet up with the shorter one, and start cutting it up. Just, get a lot of fun angles in there, get a lot of really rough surfaces. This is going to become the ruins. So we'll do the same with the other one, and we will hot glue them all together. I think you know how to hot glue them. And then paint them all in a base coat of just black. Cheap Walmart dollar store black acrylic paint works completely fine. I'm going to just add a little character to them by cutting in some big holes in the walls. Maybe they were hit by a tank shell. Maybe those areas just crumbled over time. It really doesn't matter. It's all up to you. One important thing is to make sure that you don't have any loose material, that being just little dangly bits of foam. And at this point, I also tore the paper off my foam. You can leave that on. I actually tore the paper very roughly off of one side just so I could get that kind of nasty papery texture. So like I said, glue them all together. Go ahead and base coat them, and we'll end up with this. So now the painting begins. I'm taking a dark gray and just painting over the entire thing very roughly, unevenly. You don't want, excuse me, you don't want even coats with something, dirty and grimy like ruins. Even coats just look too clean and nice. So I'm leaving a lot of areas of that black undercoat showing. And I'm putting it on very roughly, very uneven, lots of splotching. And what this is going to do is it's going to give us areas of lighter and darker paint, which kind of, it'll make areas look dirtier or cleaner. And there I go, blocking the entire shot with my hand. Sorry. So we go ahead and paint that out. And the inside walls I'm going to leave for now because, they're interior walls. They're going to be painted some kind of color. You can paint them just, flat kind of concrete like I did, or like I did for the outside walls rather. Or what I'm going to be doing is painting the insides with blue paint. Maybe they were painted blue before whatever led to these buildings being ruins. And don't worry, it's going to look very clean to start with, but we're going to dirty it up real good later. This is an important time to just mention, take care of your brushes. I don't. I abuse my brushes really, really badly, and I end up having to buy new ones. It seems like every other week at this point. So clean your brushes between coats. Make sure when you're done painting, you clean them real good. And, just respect your tools, man. And again, you can use any colors you want. You can use fancy Citadel paints or Tamiya paints or whatever. I use Walmart acrylics, so I'm just proving here that, you can get something that looks decent with the cheapest stuff. So now I'm using a slightly lighter shade of gray to get the edges there. They'd be the kind of dusty inside parts of a concrete wall. And then same thing on the flooring down below, just get a little bit in there, and then on the walls anywhere that there's a lot of damage, anywhere that there's cracking or chipping. And this will just give a really nice, third layer of depth to the colors in it. So we'll get all around the windows, all around the broken bits, just anywhere that it's messy and gross and nasty. And really it's all about, color depth. It's about having layers that make it look like it's been weathered over time rather than, coats of paint. So we'll just get all along the edges, get inside everything, and move on to the next step, which is brown. We'll get brown paint just very lightly on the brush, but then we'll brush very heavily so we get a kind of even, very, very thin coat of it over everything, especially that blue. This is going to be mainly what's going to darken up that blue. And the reason that we put that gray on the blue before is so that we can completely cover it up in brown, but that gray is going to bring out the color of the brown a lot better. So by having a rough gray coat and then a pretty even brown coat, we end up with overall a kind of uneven, sort of dusty dirt color over it. And then on the outside, we're going to do the same sort of technique, but we're going to really focus it down on the bottom, kind of down where dirt would accumulate, and then up around the corner where dirt would again accumulate. And then really just get it, on there anywhere that dirt would sort of build up and water would coagulate. And water shouldn't coagulate, but hey, it's a post-apocalyptic ruins terrain, so maybe that's what brought about the apocalypse, is coagulating water. Ugh. That's just gelatin, isn't it? Did I just invent Jello? Anyway, get around the holes in the walls, and just really dirty it up. So this is the final dry coat of paint, which is going to be a nice kind of tan over that flooring. That's going to give it a really, really nice sort of even, dusty concrete texture, basically. And now the fun part, which is black and brown paint, really, really watered down on that brush, and we're going to, I don't want to call it a wash, because I feel like washes are, a wash is too nice a term for what I'm doing, but we're really just smearing, dark, grimy paint over the entire thing. And by getting it really wet, we're hoping to have our paint sort of pool and flow and get really uneven on its own. So I put it on really, really thick, and then I use a paper towel to lightly and sort of randomly dab it back off, which gives us a really nice sort of randomized dirt, grimy texture over the whole thing. The floor we're going to give a much darker, just mostly pure black, except in the corners there, coat. And then same thing, just dab it off, and that'll really make it look like stuff is pooled down there. I try to get some nice, flowing water texture, but then I go, screw it, it's whatever. It'll look fine either way, and just putting it on real unevenly is faster and easier. What you can do is put it on and give it just a minute to dry. Really, that's the key, is how long you give it to dry between dabbing it off. And that's really going to give you the various depths of color that you want. Just give it a minute to dry, and we end up with this. It's, not especially pretty, but it works. It's nice looking. We end up with, lots of color variation in it, lots of light bits, lots of dark bits, and you know, I'm satisfied with it. So over the course of the next couple videos, we'll be turning this piece from this into this. Something just a bit nicer looking, a bit more detail on it. We've got decals, we've got sand, we've got puddles, we've got grouting, or grating rather, and into this, which has metal sheets, bullet holes, foliage, graffiti. But for now, we've got this. It's humble, but it works. It's good for gameplay, it's fun, it looks fine. So, there you go. This is a new series, and I'd really like to know what you think about it, so please let me know in the comments.